We're back in Tunisia today. We're actually on the 20th of Tevet, which is actually a very, very important day, especially on the week of Hilulot. Let's just say it marks the Hilulot of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, a famous rabbi of his time. And I think it was the 20th of Tevet, naturally. And he would be a great rabbi in B'jrba. Rabbi, I believe, we've mentioned about on various occasions before. I believe he passed away in the year 1923. So we're talking about 103 years ago here from the time of recording. A great rabbi of his time. Much can be said within regards to him, very much so. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the famous rabbi's life. Now, I believe he actually came from great rabbinic auspices. I believe his father was Rav Kamos Cohen. He was born in B'jrba in Tunis, and the name Kamos or Amos at that point in time was very, very popular, especially among the Libyan community. Also, we have to point out over here. So that is very, very interesting, and absolutely incredible. Actually, friends, we did record a video quite recently on the history of Tunisian Jewry, some of the great rabbis over there, and I recommend that was a 7-part series. So we spoke about more than 100 rabbis, I think, from various parts of Tunisia, if not even more. We did that's very, very interesting. I very much recommend everyone to watch that and all the other videos that we are recording, friends. Okay, but we're speaking about Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen in today's special edition of it. So his father was Rav Kamos Cohen, and I think he would learn Torah under the famous Rabbi Moshe Zaken Mazuz, another famous rabbi we've spoken about. Especially we mentioned him on that series we recorded quite recently, if you recollect on that. Who was Rav Moshe Zaken Mazuz? He was born in 1815 and passed away in 1915. He was a rabbi of B'jrba, so would learn under his auspices, and very, very interesting. It's interesting, we're talking about Kamos. Rab Moshe Zaken Mazuz's father was Rab Kamos, also, which is very interesting enough. So Rab Moshe Zaken Mazuz was actually quite close to other great rabbis, including Rab HaKohen Saban, another great rabbi, if I'm not mistaken. They actually learned under his auspices. Rab Sasi Matok HaKohen Yonatan, another great rabbi, passed away in 1905. And Rab Moshe Zaken Mazuz was known as a great rabbi. I think in 1890, he would be rabbi responsible for the great square in Tunisia, in B'jrba, and would take on various different important positions until he passed away. I think it was in 1875 he was appointed a Dayan, a judge in B'jrba. And in 1905, he was head of Jewish court, which was absolutely astounding. And among his Talmidim wasn't just Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, who we're speaking about today. We're now examining the caliber of Rabbonim that Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen was learning with. Also, Rabbi Machluf Idan, who we've spoken about on various occasions before, who was a rabbi of the Dijit neighborhood, the Charatz Gira in B'jrba, Tunisia, a rabbi we've spoken about. Rabbi Chaim Khoury was one of his Talmidim, part of this great, incredible team of Rabbanim learning over there. One of the outstanding rabbis of Tunisia, he was in the 20th century. Rabbi Mordechai Amias HaKohen, another great rabbi who was also known as Rabbi Mordechai Kohen, also nicknamed Avrish, if I'm not mistaken. He was a Dayan in Tunisia. He was a rabbi of B'jrba. He was the head of Jewish court in Tunis and had various different great positions, if I'm not mistaken. I think he passed away way later on in the year 1974, if I'm not mistaken, but he was a very, very great rabbi. That's something we have to very much. He was actually a Talmud of Rab Yosef Berebi, which I have to point out. Also, Rab Yosef Buchritz was a Talmud of Rab Moshe Zaken Mazuz. Rab Yosef Buchritz, final one, he passed away, I think, in 1849. He was born in 1885. He was a Dayan. He was a Mored Tzedek. He was a rabbi of the Charatz Gira neighborhood in B'jrba in Tunis, head of Jewish court, a rabbi in Zerzis, in more the southern part of Tunisia, respectively, which is very, very interesting to point out over here, friends. And welcome everyone if you're tuning in live. Yeah, just to point out, now that we're on topic of Rav Moshe Zaken Mazuz, he authored many great Torah books, including a book on Chidushim, novelties on the Shas, called the Sabar Panim, or Shari Moshe, which is a shut on Halal, Jewish law, Shari Torah, which is Chidushim and Droshim on Jewish law. Also, the Shem Moshe in Yanim Shonim, different matters in of itself. Let's just talk about. Also, other great books was a Karam Moshe book on the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, the Tanakh, respectively. The Hora'at Zaken, which is Dinim and Halchot on the Orach Chaim in the Code of Jewish Law, and Yoreh Deah. I think that was actually printed in Judeo-Arabic, if I'm not mistaken, over here. But he was very much a great rabbi of that point in time, which is something we very much have to say about. Okay, so that was Rabbi Moshe Zaken Mezuzah. Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen was learning under his auspices. Also, he would learn under auspices with another great Tunisian rabbi. This other great rabbi, I think, was actually called Rabbi Chaim Cohen, another great rabbi this time, another rabbi that I believe we've mentioned about on various occasions before, which is very, very interesting over here. So, anyone tuning in live, we're exploring the history of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, who was a great rabbi in Tunisia in his day. Marks his Hilula here, his passing on the 20th of Tevet, 103 years ago, approximately. Okay, so Chacham Eliyahu HaCohen, he was an expert within regards to kosher slaughter and treifa. Shimesh, כשוחט, ובודק בג'רבה. He would not just be a kosher slaughterer in Djerba, he would also be a bodek, an investigator. He would actually be in correspondence with regards to various questions and answers with many of the great rabbis of Tunisia, including the famous Rabbi Moshe HaCohen, who we spoke about on various occasions before, in very much depth. We've spoken about him. Rab Moshe Zaken Mezuzah, who we spoke about before also. Rab Shimon Cohen, another great rabbi in Djerba, and various other rabbis. Now, what's interesting is Rab Eliyahu Cohen would actually work in the rabbinate in Tripoli. He would go on to work in Libya. I believe I don't know if he was there for that long of a period of time, but many people from Tunisia and Libya will interchange and go in and forth in various different rabbinic roles. So he would have a position, an important position over there, I believe. Now, he passed away on the 20th of Tevet in the year 1923 in Djerba. So among his works include various different chidushim, novelties, teachings on the Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim. I think this is called Orach Mishor, if I'm not mistaken. This is Al Derech Adrash. Now, I think we've spoken about this book also before on various occasions before, if I'm not mistaken. Another great Torah colossal work. This happened to have been on Torah works. Remember, Tunisia produced some of the most important Torah publications of its day, and that very much also would, let's just say, encapsulate and so on and so forth within regards to that. So that's something that we very much have to point out over here. So that was one of his works on the Tanakh. Remember, a lot of the Tunisian rabbis would really, really concentrate on the many importances, let's say, within regards to realms of Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim also, respectively. And I think the publication of Abad Shalom will also, if I'm not mistaken, print many of these important Torah books at a later stage in time. That's something we very much have to speak about also, which is very, very interesting. Okay, so let's explore. Just give me half a minute over here, as we're just going to continue in this special edition of it, as we are speaking about the great rabbi from Djerba, Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, a very, very great rabbi of his time. So anyone, if you're tuning in live at the moment, welcome to our community as we are exploring the life of the great Chacham. Okay, so let's now speak a bit more about his book. So that was one of the books, Orach Mishor, which is the Al Derech Rash, and Derech Yashar. This was Derech Al Pshat also. Where you would concentrate, let's just say, on various different teachings, on the different tractates in the Talmud Bavli and the Shas itself, respectively, which is very, very important to point out. I think you do a book, writings on Masechet Avot, the ethics of the fathers, and Pirkei Avot naturally should be l'chot treifot. But we said he was an expert with regards to treifot and kosher slaughtering, so actually do a question and answers on that. Chidushim elu ushru etzel Chacham Moshe Cohen Derihem. So I think many of these teachings actually be with Rabbi Moshe Cohen Derihem. V'acharei olato arza hotziot tza'atzo et chidushov shel Chacham Eliyahu HaCohen v'kerako otzom yachad b'sefer Orchot Chaim. So a publication will be printed when many of, I think, some of the Talmidim or descendants would actually come and arrive in Eretz Yisrael and name the Orchot Chaim. Let's say something about Rabbi Moshe Derihem. He was a great rabbi who also we recorded a video about before. So seemingly he was very close to Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, or really took a liking within regards to his works. I think it's very important we do mention him for a minute over here on this special edition, friends. Who was Rav Moshe Cohen Derihem? Much can be said within regards to him. He passed away, I think, in the year 1966. He was born in 1906, so he was born about 17 years before Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen passed away. He'd go on to become a Dayan, a Posek, a chief rabbi of the square of Digit in Charatz, so very much the same encompassment in of itself. He was known as one of the leading rabbis of his generation in B'jrba, and he was part of the Jewish court over there. Later on, I think he would go to Tiberias and will author many great works. So he will have a hand, I think, in Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen's works. So I'm not mistaken. Just say something about Rav Derihem here. He actually came from great rabbinic auspices. His father was Rav Shimon. His mother was Rabbanit Miriam. And I think he was living in the Sfax and Ben Gardan, if I'm not mistaken. He would learn actually under auspices of Rab Machluf Idan and Rab Yosef Buchritz. These are two of the students that are part of this all-star rabbinic chavrutot, which Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen was very much part of. I think when Rav Derihem was 13 years of age, he'd travel to Sfax in order to learn over there. And I think also would spend time in B'jrba, if I'm not mistaken. And I think his father, if I'm not mistaken, was also a shochet over there. Many of these great rabbis. And it's actually saying, so it says over here, so seemingly, Rav Derihem would actually get married, if I'm not mistaken, also to the daughter of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen. So that was a connection between them. And I think he will dwell actually in his house. So there was a strong connection between Rav Moshe Cohen Derihem and Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen. We have to point out over here who we're speaking about today. It's his Hilula. And very, very interesting. So Rabbi Derihem will actually get married to the daughter of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, so hence it'll make him his chatan. So it'll be interesting to hear a bit about, because any of their children will become grandchildren automatically to Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen. So I think let's just go back to Rabbi Derihem now over here just for a minute. He was working, I think, along with Rav Machluf Idan inside the Bet Din in B'jrba, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he would actually be appointed the chief rabbi of B'jrba, of this specific place, in 1946. And then I think in 1957 he would actually make Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael and live in Tiberias. And over there he'd be working part of the great rabbinic court over there in that city, along with the famous other rabbis, including Rabbi Raphael Kook, who we have to point out, we mentioned him on various occasions before. He was one of the great rabbis, let's say, over the city of Tiberias. And also Rabbi Meir Vakinin, he would work with, who was, I think, head of Jewish court in Tiberias, and the Sephardi rabbi over there. I think there was Ichud Oli, there was various Tunisian Jewish-based foundations he will actually be in charge of over there. I think he would form a synagogue over there. Beit Knesset HaRishon Yotzei Tunis Be'eh, the first Tunisian synagogue in that. And he was known as, he was very, very well known in of itself, we have to point out. He was obviously a famous rabbi, let's just say. And I think towards the end of his life, he was, so it's, I think he built Binyat Beit Knesset, I think the Beit Knesset synagogue will be built in his memory. Hu noseh et Hashem ohel Moshe al shemo ba'amtachto nimtzu ketbei yad rabim shel rabbanei B'jrba v'lachav b'tzorato hudv'su v'yatzu le'or rabim mehem. Many of his teachings would actually get printed. What was some of the works of Rav Moshe Derihem? Remember, he's the chatan of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen. He wrote the Darash Moshe, which was Chidushim on the Tanakh, Torah Nevi'im Ketuvim, the Ohel Moshe, which was Shut, on the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law. There's Shiv Moshe, which was a Shelot Shuvot, question and answers, on the 4 sections of the Code of Jewish Law, which I think was actually printed through Rabbi Raphael Kadir Tzabar, another great rabbi we mentioned about here. There was also the Vayigid Moshe, which was a book on the Pesach, the Passover liturgy, that was printed in B'jrba. Yadei Moshe, which was Chidushim. On the Shas, on the Talmud Bavli, the Yadei Moshe, which is Perush. On the book of Bereshit, obviously we just finished that last week. And Ohel Tzadikim, stories on the Sipurei Tzadikim. And many of it was in manuscript form, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something we should very much point out over there. But he was a great rabbi of his time, Rabbi Moshe Cohen Derihem, one of the great rabbis of his time in B'jrba, and he was a chatan of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, which is very, very important to bring to just speak about also. So hence really the brilliance you can see inside the family was apparently he was about, I think, 60 years of age, 59 years of age, Rabbi Derihem was, when he passed away. So that's something else that we have to point out in regards to him. So we could say even more. Yeah, I think actually his sons, וגילו אותה בלום עד של כתפי יד קשים נגלעים מודפסים של ידי חברת אהבת שלום. So I think many of his printings will get printed after he passed away, if I'm not mistaken. Remember, these are the grandchildren of the grandson of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, who we're speaking about today, very much would be responsible for various different publications that were printed over there. So that's something that we very much have to point out over here, friends. Okay, let's explore a few of the highlights of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen's Svarim, because he had great Torah works and Torah teachings inside his book. One of the teachings Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen teaches in his Torah colossal work is Motzeh remez b'machatzit shekel lemahag ulat Yisrael. This is one of the teachings he will give over. I think this featured very much in the Orchot Chaim book. This is on page 95. Remember, Abat Shalom Printing House will print this, I think, back in the year 1990. So it's very much featured. By the way, just reading this here from the Haimi website over here. So that's very, very interesting. And that's something we just have to point out over here. Now, friends, anyone tuning in live at the moment, welcome to our community as we are exploring the history with regards to Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, who was a famous rabbi in Beg'raba in Tunisia of his day. So welcome, everyone. We're just exploring a few highlights of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen's books. Another teaching he will give over is Melamed. Lilmod Torah b'sfatav sheteheh chukah b'libo v'lo yishkachana. And yes, there's a teaching over there he will give, I think very much also featured in the Orchot Chaim book on page 123. Once again, this was published through Ahavat Shalom Printing House back in 1990. Another great teaching of his is Motzeh remez shemachadash chidushim b'Shabbat mezakeh la'avi v'imo. Now, this was printed, I think, very much featured in pages 82 to 84 in the Orchot Chaim book. Once again, published through Ahavat Shalom. And three more teachings just to give over. Four more teachings. Melamed. שאין לבוז לרשע ולדוחתו כי ישראל שורש קדוש. This, I think, comes from Amud Shin Mem Hey, if I'm not mistaken. And once again, this was printed back in the year 1990. נותן טעם לומר כל ישראל לפני הלימוד, שלא רק ללמוד חלק. This is in Amud Shin Lamadaled in the Orchot Chaim, if I believe. Once again, printed in the year 1990. Friends, I'm going to take a short 1 minute break over here, and I'll just be back in 1 minute over here. So just watch your space, and we'll be back in half a minute, friends, over here. Give me half an hour. I'm coming back. Hi, shalom everyone. Thanks for being patient over here as we're just exploring a few more highlights of the great book of Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen, who was a famous rabbi in Tunisia in his day, just to wrap up the video in of itself. So we talked about a few of the teachings. Another teaching of his, which once again comes from the book of his, concentrating on Orchot Chaim over here. Remember, this was great Torah book in of itself. The teaching goes like this: Romez shibtach yadol tzedakah be'elul b'shem kadosh hachotech chayim lekol chay. Another important teaching over here. This comes actually from page 148. That's naturally Kuf Mem Chet. Another teaching that is actually given over here. Melamed she'ein levuz lerasha v'ledochato ki Yisrael shoresh kadosh. Another important teaching that actually comes from Daf, Sin Mem Chet, if I'm not mistaken. So another very important teaching of that. Remember, the Avat Shalom printing house will actually publish a lot of these great Torah books that we have to point about, and so many great works they do. I think it's a whole publications where they've printed many hundreds of books of some of the great rabbis that have been of yesteryear. That's something we have to point about. We have to talk about, I think, Rav Moshe Dri, just go back to Rav Moshe Drihem, many great rabbis. There was no yeshivat Kisei Rachamim, I believe, at the time period when Rav Eliyahu HaCohen was about. That's something that we have to point about. But there was, if I'm not mistaken, many of these rabbis, the Talmidim, will be very much involved with the famous yeshivat Kisei Rachamim. And now it's actually based in Bnei Brak. This famous yeshiva is Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen passed away, I think, in 1923, but did you know, just under 40 years later, in 1962, Rav Matzliach Mezuz would actually open it up, and obviously in Tunisia originally, and very much would have, great rabbis that will actually be nurtured from there, including Rav Kadir Saban, Raphael Kadir Saban, for example, and Rav Meir Mezuz, Rav Rachmi Mezuz, Rav Moshe Levi, and so many other great rabbis. So that's very much interesting. But we happen to be privileged enough to speak about Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen over here today. And it marks his Hilula here on the 20th of Tevet. Actually, it's an interesting day when it comes to Hilulot, because also today marks the Hilula of Rabbi Yaakov Abu Chatzera, also known as Abi Yaakov, who was actually born in 1806 in Tilalat, Morocco, and he passed away in 1880, if I'm not mistaken. He actually came from a great rabbi himself, Rav Masoud Abu Chatzeri, if I'm not mistaken, and there was one of the outstanding rabbis. He wrote various different works, let's just say, and was an expert within regards to Torah, and he's actually brought down many other great rabbis. So that's something we have to point out within regards to him. Also, I believe, so it's a Hilul of Rav Eliyahu HaCohen, and also the famous Abi Yaakov, also Rabbi Yaakov Abu Chatzera. You know, the Abu Chatzera family in of itself will become, let's say, great rabbanim, and so on and so forth. So Rav Eliyahu HaCohen, he was definitely a great rabbi. He was a master when it came, especially with regards to Torah, Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim, and much more can be said about him, and so on and so forth. So very interesting, and we have to point out much more about these great rabbis. So that's something we have to point out. Now, friends, we're about to come inside Shabbat, Parashat Shemot, in the book of Shemot over here on this special edition over here, as we are speaking about a famous Tunisian rabbi. And we're actually recording this from the city of Shemesh in Israel. If any of you are interested in watching, please subscribe. I'll just be half a minute over here, friends. So if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please join our community over here, as we are already recorded more than 1,400 biography videos of great rabbis of yesteryear, and happens to be Rav Eliyahu HaCohen here on the 20th of Tevet, his Hilula. I very much recommend everyone watch over those previous videos we recorded about great rabbis from the previous time periods of Tunisia. We did a whole series where we explored who were the great rabbis from Tunisia of yesteryear, and we went into a lot of detail over there. I think it was a 6 or 7 part series where we encompassed, and we spoke very much about and we did speak about Rabbi Eliyahu HaCohen also inside that series, which I very much recommend everyone to look at and to learn more about, and so on and so forth. And so that's very important. And Yeah, and also on this series, one of the special programs we're doing in general at the moment is an entire project that we're doing at the moment on who were the great rabbis of yesteryear, and not just that, the different countries, what actually took place at that point in time. We've explored nearly about 42 countries already here inside this series, so that's absolutely stunning. And usually, so I recommend, we're just about to start a whole series, or we just started on the Netherlands, on Holland, which I very much recommend everyone to actually watch those videos that we recorded on the Netherlands. We've done one so far, but that's probably going to be a 3-4 part series, I would assume, maybe even possibly more also, so that's something we have to point out. And yeah, we're just learning very much more at the moment. So I think on this note, it's an opportune time to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, and a fantastic Shabbat ahead. Make the most of it, and imbue yourselves inside the synagogue, and learn as much Torah as possible. And it's always very, very much inviting and an opportune time, which is something I very much have to point out over here. So yeah, so on that note, wishing everyone Shabbat Shalom. Take care and watch this space, because we've got next week a lot of great Torah content that's coming out. We are going to do more biography videos, Bezrat Hashem. Also, we're going to speak about more great rabbis that there were of yesteryear. That's something that we're going to do. We're going to concentrate not just on the Netherlands, hopefully on other countries, also on the Jewish history within regards to what actually went on in various other places. Also, and one thing also, we do a daily tidbit of the Daf Yomi every day. That's something we'll have to point out over here. We do a daily tidbit, and we've done nearly 1,100 plus pages over here. And so that is going to be very exciting. We could do a siyum, Bezrat Hashem, a completion of one of the tractates of Masechet Zvachim next week, Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach. So watch this space within regards to that, and that's very, very much exciting, something that we're very, very excited about also. So that's coming up next week, friends, over here, and enjoy all the rest of the content, and wishing you all well over here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to our community, to our channel, as we've got a lot of fantastic content over here. What the section where you guys go to if you are looking to explore more of the, let's say, the famous videos that we've recorded on different tractates, is you go to Stories of Tzaddikim section here inside the channel, and then you can browse through. You'll see 1,400 biography videos of famous rabbis of yesteryear, and it's something very much exciting about. We are excited, and doing so much more. One other thing that we're doing, friends, here on this community, here on this channel, is we tour all over Israel. We've already recorded, I believe, as many as 200 tours all over Israel, especially in the cities of Shemesh and in the capital city of Jerusalem. I've been to other places also, like Ashdod. We've been to Tel Aviv and other places also. So we do tours of different sections of Israel. So I recommend everyone to watch over those presentations we've done over there, and those walk around tours. And it's very, very excited, and it's very a lot of fantastic feedback from this also. So thanks very much, everyone. And wishing you well. I think it's it's very, very interesting. Yeah, so we will explore that more. We've got a lot of people tuned in live at the moment, so please don't forget also, subscribe to the channel. We are nearing, at the moment, 9,000 subscribers, so we've got fantastic content. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and join our community. And wishing you all well. And don't forget to watch over the video we recorded about Parshat Shemot, which is this Shabbat. If you check the Parshat Shemot weekly Torah reading section also, we did a whole presentation on this week's Torah portion. So make the most of it. Take care and be well. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks very much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.